Happy homecoming. I am so grateful to each of you as student leaders for the work you are doing in this really difficult time of leadership. COVID-19 doesn't make this stuff easy. I thought of that this homecoming. Normally we'd have you join us for lunch, sitting at tables with other student leaders and with alumni who had a shared experience with you, telling something of their stories as you nosh together. And then a few of them would get up and share something of their story and wisdom with all of us. We don't have a chance to do that this year, but I promise you next year we're back together. So what I did is I went back and watched the films of all the years of students over that time sharing something of the wisdom they gained when they were student leaders. And I wanted to share that with you in a film that reminds you, A, you are not alone, or that a little further down the road, you make such meaning of what you're doing right now. And so I invite you to sit back with me and watch a few short film clips of the wisdom of those that have come before you. They are like you, leaders of fraternities and sororities and student groups, of cultural and identity-based group, campus activists, those who have made their way on campus as scholars and leaders, people who are now using all they learned then to make a difference in their lives post-college and in the world around us. So join me in watching those that have come before you. A reminder, we're all in this together. Sharon Fries-Britt was a student leader, an orientation advisor, but she would go on to do her graduate work at the Ohio State University and then back to the University of Maryland to work to do her Ph.D. and now to be a full professor in the College of Education. What I love about Sharon Fries-Britt is the work she does about equity and inclusion and encouraging diverse people to find their access to higher education. In this particular snippet, her wisdom is about storytelling and about the power we have to find our way. I am so proud to call her a friend, Sharon Fries-Britt.
There was a speech that was being given by the then current president of Harvard University, and he was speaking to his campus, and he was trying to get them to understand the notion of success. What makes you successful? And he said this simple statement. It's probably one of the most profound statements that I think articulates how I see myself as a terrapin. He said this: "Behold the turtle. He only makes progress when he sticks out his neck." Behold the turtle. He only makes progress when he sticks out his neck. When I came here, you had to be a kind of terrapin that would stick out your neck. There's certain things that you couldn't make progress on at that time unless you were willing to challenge the issues of the system. Now, I'm guaranteed that there are still challenges today that all of our student leaders would say, you have to stick out your neck. That's what we terrapins do. That's how we make progress. And so when you leave this campus and go out when whatever your professional endeavor is going to be, you will find that that's in your blood because that's what terrapins do. All of us are going to have obstacles. We're going to all face obstacles. That's a part of a story. No story is an exciting story if everything is like just smooth sailing, right? You got to have a bump here or there. Here's what I would say to you, because the obstacles are indeed coming. They always come. I've had plenty of them in my life, but they have strengthened me, and they have allowed me to have a different vision, as many of you understand about the obstacles you've already faced in your life. Greet them with a different kind of passion and joy. And what I would say to you is that when we have obstacles, they create opportunities to understand how to be vulnerable, how to understand how to live in a space of vulnerability with a sense of power and purpose. I'm going to leave you with a story that I think helps to illustrate, at least for me, how when we're encountering difficult times in our lives, we might want to think about ourselves in that process. And this is a story about a father and his daughter. And the father was a gardener. He spent a lot of time in the garden. And so he had taken his 6-year-old daughter out to the garden. He wanted to show her how to work it. He gave her the task of the hose. You water the garden. And so she was doing a great job. The water was flowing nice, and she's gardening. About 10 minutes into it, he hears her say, "Dad, it's not working." And she's stumping. She's frustrated. And the father looks around, and he sees the problem. So he comes over and he says, "Sweetie, you've got your right foot on the hose and you're blocking the flow of the water." So she moves her foot and she's back at her job. Flow's going really nice. 15 minutes later, he hears the same, "Dad, it's not working." And he looks around, he sees the problem. He comes over and he says, "You've got your left foot on the hose. You need to lift it up." And then when she began to understand how to manage the flow of the water, she began to be more successful. And I think in our lives, when the flow is interrupted by an obstacle, all you have to do is look back and say, what's stopping this? And sometimes it's ourselves, it's our attitude, it's our disposition, it's our lack of understanding of how your unfolding story doesn't all come together in one day, 1 week, or 1 month. You have a lifetime to live in a state of brilliance. Embrace it, you're a terrapin. Don't be afraid to stick your neck out and ask the tough questions. Nothing is ahead of you but success.
Cathy Reese has won national championships with our women's lacrosse team, not once, not twice, but multiple times, as both a student athlete when she was an undergraduate at the University of Maryland and as a coach. When Cathy Reese came, she was right on the precipice of another national championship until the spring hit, COVID-19, and the season was over. But when she came to talk to us, she talked about something critically important to her, and those were her 4 children, and particularly the lessons she learned from the struggles of one of her sons. She said something profound about kindness, and I think in this time when everyone's masked up and we're all physically distanced, to remind ourselves about the power of kindness. We're grateful to Cathy Reese for teaching us that.
When my oldest son, this is 2012, so I had a baby in January. This is my 4th kid, right? Had a baby in January, and then in March, my oldest son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So these kind of, you see all the symptoms and you read about what they are, and my roommate in college was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, but you're watching it your own kid and you almost don't want to believe that that's what's going on. So as the diagnosis, after it went through and we went to the doctor for something else, ended up with a blood test and urine test, and they called me that night. I just finished a game, walked off the field, and the pediatrician says, you need to go to the emergency room right now. So I was like, what? So we go and we spend a couple nights in the hospital, and this part of dealing with issues like this that just kind of hit you like a truck. That's what I said. I felt like I just got hit by a truck. I'm in there, and the nurse gave me a needle, and she goes, you need to give it to him. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm bawling because I can't do, I like cringe when I get a flu shot. Now I'm a rock star at needles. But back then, not so much. And he looks at me, and he's 7, and he's like, Mom, don't do this to me. You can't do this to me. I know, I'm going to cry even talking about it. So I was like, I'll buy you anything, So we've got like new Lego sets coming in the hospital. We have all of this stuff done and taken care of. But it was, one of these events that life throws at you that is kind of, here's the hand we're dealt. So you go out, you have a choice. You can feel sorry for yourself, or you can play your hand. And it was a challenge, but here we are at 14 right now, and he's got this stuff under control. He's doing a great job for as responsible as a child can be with this. And so this was kind of a starting point for us to see where we go. And I think the main thing, it was great, and he's fine now. It took us months to recover for this virus to leave his system. But one of the biggest thing that I took from this whole experience is the power that people have to be kind. And I'm gonna cry. I was one of those moms, in the hospital that people came and played the banjo for at the door. Yeah, it's okay, right? If someone tried to give me a gift, I'm like, give it, I know we're gonna get out of here at some point. But the overwhelming support of, for me, the sports community, all of Maryland's athletic teams, of reaching out and of my players who would come and sit with him or would try to get him to play PlayStation, who would come and just talk to him or do anything. I mean, even Coach K at Duke sending us Duke basketball. My son hates Duke and loves Maryland, but that really went a long way, And so I think, Torrey Smith called him in the hospital, and that was the first time I saw him smile in 31 days. And so I look back at this, and I tell my girls this all the time, the power that we have as people to just be kind to someone else makes a world of difference. So much of what we all do, and no matter what field you are, we're worrying about the future, or we're focusing on the past, this is it, or we're looking to this and that, and it's where are we right here, right now? To take that deep breath and to look at the person next to you and to appreciate them and to say something kind and to make them feel good. This is where we are, because nothing else is given to us. You know, it's right now, right here, because anything can change in a minute. You're leaders in your own way, in your own field, and we each have the ability to impact and affect everybody around us the same way my team does. You know, we're in different roles in different areas, but enjoying the moment, staying present, you know, believing in the people next to you, being kind are all important things that translate, I think, in anything that we do.
Paul Montiero was an amazing student leader who took all he learned and went to work for a young senator, Barack Obama, and then found his way to the White House, heading up AmeriCorps, and any number of other things in the White House. Paul Montiero is a product of Washington, D.C. But when he talked with us some years ago, just at the end of the Obama administration, he shared with us something about telling your true biography. That's something everyone in Washington or even at a career fair at the University of Maryland always does. But he shares with us some really profound lessons he learned at Maryland and how those informed his life in the White House.
It's so critical to tell sort of your real biography. And that's another DC thing, is like you usually write your own. So you read my biography about how great I am because I wrote it. And that's cool, and there's a time and place for that. But my other biography, growing up sort of like Delmis did, you know, in poverty, second of 5, born to a teenage mother. It's important to tell the whole story, I think, as we share our stories with people, because the revisionist history, I think, is a very tempting and common thing to do, sort of remembering things the way you want to remember them, or make it seem like there was this great path that you took because you worked hard and were just naturally gifted and smarter than everybody else. It comes from a good place. Actually, one of the treats I had after I left the White House was briefly working on a couple of film projects, and Selma was one of them. So working with Oprah Winfrey, going down to Selma, sort of connecting civil rights leaders with the people that are playing them in the movie. And one of the things that she insisted on was telling that whole story. Dr. King as a character, but as a person who maybe wasn't the best husband sometimes, who had spats with his wife, who, you know, called out a lot more than just structural racism in the country, dealing with issues of war, dealing with issues of poverty, not making him into a caricature. You see the same thing happening with the president. And depending on what your view is of the president, you know, I already start. He's not even out yet, and some people are sort of saying, well, this guy with a funny name gave a bunch of good speeches and inspired the country, and they all just rallied behind him and got him elected, and now he's the first African-American president. They leave out that he lost his first election for Congress. They leave out that he was left in deep debt after that run. Trouble at home because he wasn't around, 2 young kids. You know, Michelle's doing a lot of the heavy lifting at home. They talk about his 2004 speech at the DNC, you know, no red America, no blue America. They leave out that 4 years before that at the DNC, he couldn't even get a ticket because he wasn't, quote unquote, important enough. He was locked out. You know, the story is still being written, and some people think the president's the worst thing that's ever happened to the country, and that's their right to tell that story too. My thing is, at least tell the whole story in terms of all of the facts. Our university is going through that same process now. The name of that stadium was different when I was a student here. The song that bell tower told was different when I was a student here. Some of the lyrics of the song it was chiming wouldn't make me feel so welcome if I knew what the words were at the time. Freshman year was tough. Wasn't a smooth transition, sort of coming into such a big university community, coming from a high school where most people looked like me, and then didn't when I came here. And not being able to get a room on campus because dorms were full, you know, so living at home just kind of changed my campus experience. I felt like the Department of Campus Parking had me on a hit list because we went to war like every day. I ran unsuccessfully for student government. The first time I ran as an independent, which was a bad move for me. I got 200 votes. The next closest competitor got like 1,000. So I joined a party the next time around and learned. My point is simply tell the whole story when you're up here giving your Terp Talk 15 or 20 years from now. Because it's important for people to hear, these aren't comic books. These aren't fairy tales. We're all real people who've had some significant setbacks, and the failures are where you learn. The failures are where you grow. The setbacks, when you don't get your way, you don't get the job, you don't get the internship, you lose the election, that's where the growth comes. And that's the good part of the story.
Nestor Benavides was was an immigrant from Peru when he came to the University of Maryland. He had big dreams for himself and a lot of great leadership while he was an undergrad. But he capitalized on that, working much of his career in international business and then becoming an entrepreneur. When he came to talk with us at Homecoming, one of the things he wanted to remind us about was about how we have to live in the now. Seems a really appropriate message for people who are living in a very strange now. But we're grateful to Nestor for reminding us to simply be present.
I heard somebody say that we spend the vast majority of our lives regretting, telling ourselves stories about all that we're not, all that we wish we were. And then we spend the other part anxious about how we're going to get to wherever it is we want to go. I got to that point where I realized we all know, okay, it's about the moment. There is no past and there is no future. There's only right here. This is the only place I exist. This is the only place that I can find success and happiness. And every moment has a nucleus to it, which to me is the absolute truth of what is. It's not my truth. It's not your truth. It's our collective truth. And around that nucleus of every moment is this boundary between what we want to be and what we wish we were. And everything that I have found to be good in terms of people or organizations or moments comes from moments when you are standing strong and confident in who you are and then moving in some way towards who you want to be. And every moment that I find myself anxious, like last night when I thought this was tomorrow, and I had meetings in New York today, and I found myself in this massive moment of disharmony because I was wishing I could be two places at once. Every moment you spend wishing, you're in disharmony. And it's that simple. So can I find the is in the moment? Can I anchor in the is of the moment? And then can I, from there, move it towards what I want to make it? And can I stay away from wishing? You never achieve success. You never achieve happiness. You have to keep finding it in every moment. But I got this little formula that helps me figure out how I can. And it applies to everything, right? When you get home, or when you got home when you were showing your grades, did your parents say, what'd you get wrong today, right? Or did they say, I saw you working hard on that test. How'd you do? Right? When you were playing sports, did the coach keep saying, come on, come on? Or did they say, keep giving me all you got? What's amazing to me is achieving the same exact objective feels completely different if you start from the core and build out versus if you keep wishing that guy could run faster. To me, trying to achieve anything from a wish is like trying to build a structure from the second floor down. And I didn't pay enough attention in engineering school, but I think the concepts of engineering still work. And the thing I love about this is it is so universal. I came across this. I am not a teacher. A teacher has something to teach. I am only pointing at what is being missed while you look elsewhere for what is ever present. I see needless suffering which is paradoxically needed till the true is seen. What is real cannot be learned. It has only to be recognized in the heart, or probably more appropriately, in the mind. I was running yesterday, and I was running down the Potomac. We were having these sales and marketing meetings, and I was running faster than I've run in a while, and the fog was on the ocean. And when my mind gets quiet, I get so full of the possibility of what I can do if I stay focused. And the idea of being inspired, a lot of people, what is all that? The idea of being inspired is simple. It's simply about the belief that we can be better, that we can do better, that we can make things better. The idea of harmony isn't mine. It's just the idea that life is a song that gets played one time. And every moment you come up on is one more note. Can you find the note that is in accord with the ones before it and that can lead you into the right next place?
Cathy Campbell graduated in the 1980s. And when she came back to speak on campus for Homecoming, she chose not to talk about her days as a student leader in terms of the number of things she was a part of, but instead to talk about what she learned as a leader that informed her path when her young son David got sick and died of a rare mitochondrial disease. Cathy shares with us how she found her purpose and how all of that was informed by what she learned in college.
So I leave here today with 2 tasks for each of you who are student leaders. First, find your trusted advisor here in College Park. It will do you wonders. If you don't already have a trusted advisor, know that the faculty and the staff on this campus are second to none. There is someone here who will believe in you the way Marsha believed in me. Second, your life has purpose. Know that what you're learning outside the classroom is as important as inside the classroom. And know that that passion, you will either find it or it will find you. Your life, too, is also like a quilt. My life is like a quilt. It will have different fabrics woven into it. How you choose to use the talents you've honed while here at Maryland will impact your life forevermore. And if my story proves true for you as well, you too will have an opportunity to share your skills and passion in a way that helps others. My life has been the richer for it. Congratulations to each of you who are student leaders. May you serve with the pride that all of us alumni carry on the University of Maryland.
Paul Carlson was the student government president in his own time. Another difficult time, truly an economically difficult time. Paul Carlson learned some amazing lessons as a student leader, both of student government, but also as fraternity, and also as a person on the president's cabinet. What I love about him in this message is that he reminded us about how everyone has a lesson about the shoulds in life, what you should do. And I bet you're hearing that right now. Paul reminds us, don't listen so much to the shoulds, but listen to your heart and head to discover your passion.
It's easy to get away from what's most important. It's easy to get away from your passion and to kind of get into the mode of doing the shoulds. And the shoulds are getting the credential, getting something on your resume, following some authority figure. And I see this all the time in my professional life. People come in looking for jobs and opportunities. And I'll tell you, if you focus too much on the shoulds, it'll suck the life right out of you. You'll get older, and as you get to my age, you realize that, there's just not that much living to go around, and you want to really preserve that for the things that are most important to you. So I really put it to you. Are you clear on what's most important to you? And does that resonate? Are you passionate about that? How do you want to make a difference for yourself, for this university, or the broader community? It's a really exciting future. And the reason I say that to you, one, it makes you feel good. And I think it's hard to feel good right now because every negative thing that happens on this planet gets amplified out every single day. And so not only does it make you feel good, I think they're right. And I think the opportunity before you, before us, is bigger than we can possibly imagine. And I would argue that the key to unleashing that potential is really honing in on what are you most passionate about and staying connected to that and letting all the other shoulds and all the other things that distract from that, let them go.
Gary Williams is most widely known as the basketball coach at the University of Maryland, a national champion coach. But he was a student here first. And what he tells us about in this story from Homecoming is about what it takes to be a part of a team. It's something I think you and I as student leaders or leaders are always working to do, is to create team. He talks about how you take the brilliance of the people around you and then craft community. Join me in celebrating the national champion winning Gary Williams.
The one thing you find out in coaching is you have to have talented people, first of all. And I think any of us that work with other people, you can see that. You can't do it yourself. I need talented assistant coaches. I need talented players playing for me. So I was fortunate to have some great players playing for me during the time at the University of Maryland. But at the same time, talent's one thing. The ability to work together is another thing. In other words, are you willing to, in other words, a high school recruit, big time recruit, he averages 25 points a game in high school. He comes to Maryland and I say, well, you know, we've got really good players on our team. You're probably only going to average 10 or 12 points a game. You know, and all these guys, they look at you like, what are you, nuts? You know, like, I didn't come here for that, you know. But if they can buy into the team because of their talent and their ability, all of a sudden you become a very good basketball team. And that's true with different companies, different places. They ask you, they want you to be successful and they want you to use your talent, but you have to fit in. And I don't mean you have to conform and be like everybody else. I just mean you have to contribute and make that company, make that team better. And when we've had great teams, it was that. It was great talent and the ability of those people to put it together as a unit. And it's a great thrill when that happens. Think about this. Where you go to college never changes. You can get divorced, people come and go in your life, jobs change, things like that happen. Where you go to college never changes. That's yours. My friends today, I'd say half my friends today are people I went to the University of Maryland with. And that's what is here, you know, for you students. That's what's available to you right now, to establish these connections, to establish things, and to really give back to the university. Whatever you can do to give back to the university, you will get a lot of pleasure out of that, especially as you get older and the years go by. I know myself, still being connected to the university after, you know, having coached here, is a great thrill for me.
Christina Lagdemeo fought hard for an Asian American Studies program. She was the first student to get a certificate in that program because as an activist, she believed we needed it. That work informed her life, her public policy career, the career she had in the Obama White House as the Deputy Director of the White House Office on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. But it also informed the work she did in India, working with women who were previously sex trafficked. She told the story learned in student activism and in hardship and struggle about how to live and to lead.
Here you are, for some reason, the circumstances have aligned that you've been chosen as the leaders on our campus. And you have all these resources around you. You have these gifts, these talents. Do you know what people in the world would do to be in your position? I'll tell you. In South India, parents who simply want a better life for their children will be tricked into selling them. They think they're sending them to boarding school, and as it turns out, young girls will be enslaved in sex trafficking. So I implore you to know your place and your privilege, and not just to know it and be grateful for it, but to go out in the world and to experience it, and to see for yourself how people without your privilege can survive and thrive. And I saw this every day working in India with survivors of trafficking, and their resilience would just blow me away. They had this deep joy and this inner peace. And they were the ones who were showering me with love and affection. And all I had to do was reflect it back to them and show to them that in spite of the atrocious acts that they had endured, there was this internal light inside them that could never be taken away. So do the big jobs that are worth doing, like spreading health and peace and ensuring justice, because that's what we need. And to do that, you have to commit to not falling and succumbing to our cultural obsession with ourselves and with material gains. Because I promise you that when you discover the purpose that is greater than yourself, you will be rich in graces. You will be abundant in energy, and you will have so much wealth. You'll be humbled by the wealth of experiences that come your way. realize that through your own struggles, you can be more compassionate. You can be a more compassionate person. You can have more capacity to take, with your heart, to take on other people's joys and sorrows. Because guess what? That's also your job as a leader. To hold the space for people in all their splendor and struggle, and to foster community. That's your job. You know, this life, it's not meant to be lived in isolation. It really isn't, no matter how brilliant you are. So choose your tribe wisely.